Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves some more tracks from an act named Crunchineer off of the album Blues Punch. And if we switch over to here, I have reviewed some tracks off of this album before, but we're going to be listening to more. So we have Bluesman to start us off with. We're also going to be listening through Wolf Creek Blues and also Haze. So we're going to listen through each of these three tracks from start to finish, and I'm going to hear what we think. Let's go. Oh, cool. Cool drum fill to come in with the guitars here. It's nice. I mean, I'm familiar with the work here with the distorted guitar as a bass and the drums, but it's nice to revisit it, you know? It's a filthy distortion tone, isn't it? Sounds like they're using an SG for that turn, I think. Or an Epiphone or something like that. Interesting placement of that solo on the left side of the stereo field. You know, I wouldn't typically put it there, but I think there's a lot of energy in the center of the stereo field, so it makes sense, I guess, to do that. A little bit of fuzz there. A little bit of pushing on that meter, but that's fine. It does sound bluesy to fit well with the Bluesman instrumental. It's nice to have the double tracking of the rhythm guitars in there with these descending melodies. I think we'll go for 1, 2. You've got groups of 3 bars. We have ba da bow bow da ba da bow bow, and then the third one is da 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 da. So it loops quite nicely, you know. It's an interesting structure of it, a way of approaching it. I quite like it. Interesting vibrato there. There's lots of space in the mix as well. Sometimes with instrumental tracks, you wonder if they could have gotten away with maybe putting a little bit more in there, you know, a little bit more of the old, the good old, how do I say this? The old vocal, a little bit of being led by the vocals, you know, having a story being told on top of it. And you could potentially get away from it here, but I think you need a specific type of texture in your voice to really sort of add to this or make it more than what it is. The lead guitar parts that we have in here, in addition to like the harmony and the backing and the percussion, is more than enough in my opinion. Again, there's nice amounts of space in here. Nice 8th note grooves on the bass, on the tom fills. Some unison bends to add a bit of spice to it. Those drums are being pushed. I wonder what the effects change on the drums are like. I'd like to know that maybe, but maybe I'll ask in future. I can't tell if those are just hi-hat hits or if they are hi-hat closes. They could be hi-hat closes, so it makes sense if that was the case. But you could have both. Anything to highlight that quarter note groove in the background when you've got the space in there. A little bit more frenetic in this part. Fairly aggressive lead playing in there. I've gotten really quick with those unison bends and hammer-ons and pull-offs. Up in that upper range, about the 12-15 range. Nice box playing. We're screaming up there, aren't we? We're screaming. Okay, we finish here. We had a little bit of chromaticism going on here with the fill at the end. It kind of reminds me of AC/DC without the vocals. That's the kind of sort of feel I get of it. It's got an analog vibe, like it's been recorded through a disc like that. So I can enjoy and appreciate that. But great stuff from Crunchineer with Blues Punch instrumental version. I assume that means that we'll potentially have one with vocals at some point, which will be great. It'll be great. The next track we have is Wolf Creek Blues, track number 2. That kick is really present, isn't it? It's got a nice pattiness to it. Like there's no kind of need to click the kick, if that makes sense. That thud is all we need. Okay, we got the voicing is a little more somber in this one, a little bit less intense than what we had in Bluesman. I think that can be appropriate in certain situations. It's nice to have that change in approach between tracks in an album. It shows your flexibility and versatility as a musician. Because especially in blues, you know, your lead guitar is meant to fill the void where there isn't a vocalist. It's another way to sing through your guitar. Bum, ba bum, ba bum, ba bum, bum. We're gonna keep that the whole way through. I mean, that's fine if that's the case. I can roll with that. Okay, wait, are these hammer-ons and pull-offs here? Are we rolling without the picking of the notes? Or relying just on our finger strength there? So if that's the case, that's pretty cool. There's a crunchiness to those crashes. I mean, I'm nodding my head to it without, like, meaning to. I suppose that means it's got a vibe. And kind of, so the slide guitars here are an interesting change here. We haven't had that yet, or at least not in Bluesman or up until now Wolf Creek Blues. I was wondering when the slide guitar was going to come in. It kind of sounds like it's moaning or something like that, you know? Like it's crying. It's articulate though at the same time. I'm not complaining about it. Wow, 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 wow. It's a nice way of voicing these notes that's not straight to the point, or you don't have bends, you know? Yeah, no, I mean, we've had a similar sort of feel throughout this track there. There's not a lot of really new stuff being presented at this point in time. It's more like, this is the Wolf Creek Blues. You've got it at the start and you've got it at the end, and this is the atmosphere we've created, and we're gonna just sit here and chill with it. Okay. Was there a little bit more compression in the cymbals in the previous one? Were these tracks recorded in the same take? Because it sounds like they've been mic'd differently. I could be wrong though. I mean, again, I'm not going to tell Crunchineer how to record their music at all. You know, like sometimes you can get the inspiration for a track outside of the set you've already recorded the previous day. If it fits the oral aesthetic of an album, why not include it, right? But Wolf Creek Blues was a lovely addition, you know. Initially, when I started doing this review, I thought I'd, reviewed parts of the songs from the album, but then I remembered I reviewed Blues Punch as the track itself. Primarily because I got confused because I saw Blues Punch as the album, and then I saw that as the song. But that's okay. We've got Haze, track number 3. Haze, instrumental version by Crunchineer, the final one for today. We love our blues. We love our blues here at Crunchineer Blues Punch instrumental version album. Are the drums going to come back in, or are we going to do the slow dance with these guitars and basses? I mean, I don't mind either way. I'm not going to tell people how to live their lives, but yeah, it's a little bit slower than what we've had previously. We've still got a similar guitar tone. The approach to the way we're doing the percussion is similar. The bass is consistently rolling with those root notes of the chords and some of the intervals. Can be more of a Led Zepp 70s kind of feel, you know? Like a Whole Lot of Love kind of vibe, if that makes sense at all. It's well mixed. I can hear the different elements nice and clearly. You know, I've got no complaints about the studio side of things. I think that if you tried to clean this up more than... If you tried to sterilize some of this by having less resonance to some of those instruments, it would have taken away from it. Wouldn't have sounded nearly as authentic, you know? I'm liking these colourful, fun lead melodies though. It kind of sounds like we're dancing around on top of the existing groove with the rhythm guitars, drums and bass. It's kind of funky, isn't it? See, I can sing along to it. It's easy enough to follow. Part of that is what makes it effective, because you're not being alienated by it. And the guy can shred. These riffs are lightning fast. Again, we're sticking with these pentatonic scale shapes, but that's fine, you know, it's part of the genre, it's a staple of it. Or the blues scale, should I say. Oh, excellent. Great change of pace. Thank you. I'm looking for something like this at this halfway point. Slow it down. Have a change in the sequencing of some of the parts. Have a different instrument in there, you know? Maybe switch the pickup position. Have the slide guitar like you did in Wolf Creek Blues. It's kind of upbeat. It's got a majorish tonality to it that I like, that contrasts with some of the crunchy kind of like a little bit of menace to those distorted riffs, but those higher chords, you know, 2, 3. The accent on the 4th beat of each bar there. This is probably my favorite one off of the album, to be honest. It wouldn't have been if we didn't have that break at 2:45 mark, you know, just for things going silent. That was fun. I liked how we hit the bam, 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 bam. That was a great way of communicating that last little bit with the descending, what's that, the 404 shape on the guitar, 404, 303, etc. Because it's effectively my review of some of the tracks off of the Blues Punch instrumental version album from Crunchineer. You know, we've got 8 tracks on here, and I've enjoyed my time with both Blues Punch as the single, and then also Haze, Wolf Creek Blues, and Bluesman. You know, we've got someone who is clearly familiar with the genre and knows how to play appropriately to that. I'm very happy with that. The story, I suppose, the journey we're going on with this album is Crunchineer's interpretation of his way of approaching the genre. Obviously a fan of blues and related blues and rock and all those related ones, you know. Pays homage to some of the different blues stylings that we've had over the years. You know, I like how we approach some Led Zeppelins. We have some slidey parts, you know. We have some really frenetic soloing, and sometimes we're voicing it a little more chill-like, you know. I suppose closest thing we have to a voice, because usually I have a section at the conclusion for the voice. It's more, you know, like, I think the slide section was the most accurate thing to like a literal voice, in the sense that it sounded like someone was crying, and it sounded like someone was having a conversation to you, but there weren't words, and there don't need to be. Part of the beauty of having instrumental tracks is that it is left open to interpretation. You literally don't, you are not in a position, people are saying, oh, you know, this is what you need to hear about this. You can make up your own mind about what a track is about. So I'm thankful for Crunchineer for allowing us to have an open-minded experience before maybe we have a singer come in and say that Haze is about, oh, well, Purple Haze, for example. It kind of reminds me a bit of Jimi Hendrix as well, you know? But yeah, okay. I mean, the guitar parts were splendid. The bass playing was foundational, and it rolled well with the root notes, and it kept a great solid groove. And it did what it needed to fill in the lower spectrum. And then finally the drums. We had occasional fills. Mostly it was just a rhythmic device, a way of keeping those quarter, eighth note, maybe some whole note grooves occasionally. It's all we really needed. The focal point was the guitar playing and the lead work, and that's fine. It was entertaining enough. I'm glad that with each of these tracks, again, we had that structure where we kind of split it at the halfway or just after that, because we were aware that we needed a little bit of change there just to keep the listener interested, because if you have the same thing for 4 minutes, it can kind of become boring, and we knew not to let that happen. And no matter how much you love something, if you do too much of it, sometimes it does become a little bit too much, you know. But we didn't have that situation with Crunchineer and any of these 3 tracks, Haze, Wolf Creek Blues, or Bluesman. And that's part of why I enjoy them, and I especially liked Haze. I liked having that sort of major tonality to it. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not like into happy, like joy music or anything like that. I love my dark, kind of horrible stuff. I want to hear that contrast and that complexity to it, and that was provided there, as well as with the other tracks I've heard so far. So good job to Crunchineer for that. The post-production, the recording, mixing, and mastering was splendid. I had a great time listening through this, partly because I can just hear that this was recorded on an analog disc, and even if it wasn't, it sounds like an old school recording in a studio, going through like a nice crackly overdriven amp with a guitar that can shred like that and has that crispiness to the tone. You know, when you hear a name Crunchineer, you think there's going to be crunch. It's that crunch setting as a preset on a lot of guitar amps nowadays that ironically cannot be delivered because you cannot necessarily emulate the old school vibe. But you got that with what Crunchineer provided here, and I'm very happy with that. It wasn't a clean, sterilized pop performance. It had a bit of it had a raw tonality to it. We didn't have really complex effects change on any of the instruments. There's a bit of compression, I think, on the drums, which, you know, I'm happy with the amount there was. I'm glad there wasn't more of it. But what happened was each of these 3 tracks was nice and loud without pumping. and it sounded akin to a lot of blues I've heard over the 70s as well as recently, 60s and 70s as well as recently, for some of the blues music I reviewed from contemporary musicians over the last couple of years as a music reviewer. It would just be cool to see what Crunchineer does with the lyric side of things and what singers get involved. Hopefully it just adds to it. But we will see. For now though, this is my review of Crunchineer's Blues Punch, the instrumental version. It is an album, and thank you very much for watching my review of it. If you enjoyed listening to this music, please do go check out Crunchineer's various social medias and Spotify page. Stay cool and stay safe. Please also remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.